My wife's rich family demanded that I sign a prenuptial agreement, and she cheated. Now, she's begging to reconcile because I'm leaving her penniless. I found out that my wife of 20 plus years was having an affair. This completely hurt me, and I have started divorce proceedings. This has been hard for our 4 children, but I cannot spend the rest of my life with someone I can't trust. Before we married, my wife's family had money and demanded that I sign a prenuptial agreement. I had no problem with it, but since then, the family's money has been lost due to bad investments and lawsuits. My wife was a psalm for the majority of our marriage. Our youngest child is 19, and because of the prenup, she can't get alimony. In short, my wife will be screwed. The only thing we own together is our house, and while it is paid off, my wife won't be able to afford the upkeep or HOA fees, so she will effectively be homeless. I do not intend to give her any support for any reason. Since serving my wife's divorce papers, I have refused direct contact, as my lawyer has advised, but she's now playing dirty by getting the children involved. We have 2 boys and 2 girls, and my wife has been pleading with them to get me to agree to halt the divorce proceedings in favor of counseling. After I told my children that I had no interest in wasting any more of my life with that woman, they have all essentially backed off except for my oldest, Christy. She's very close to her mother and can't imagine a life where her parents aren't married. Christy tells me that her mother realizes her mistake and will do whatever it takes to make things right. She says I owed it to the family to work things out. I refused and told her it wasn't her place to make those demands. Since then, the only time Christy talks to me is when she's sobbing and asking me not to destroy the family. I understand that this is hard for her and offered to pay for therapy so she can cope, but she said there wouldn't be anything to cope with if I weren't trying to divorce her mother. Since Christy is being too emotional to act within reason and refuse therapy, I have resolved to limit contact until after the divorce. However, my other children say Christy's behavior is worsening. Update: I have a scheduled sit-down with her to explain that what goes on between her mother and me is not her fault and that I can't ever go back to a woman who deceived me in such a big way. I told her that I try to be as forgiving and empathetic as possible but will never tolerate people who lie with malicious and selfish intent and try to cut them out of my personal life as much as possible. I was very calm when I said this and tried to be as loving as possible to my child, but it didn't work. Christy ended up breaking down and again tried to get me to convince me not to divorce her mother and just forgive her. I refused and, in the end, went NC with Christy for a little bit. I only spoke to her again 2 days before my other daughter's, Jane, birthday through a text asking her not to bring up the divorce since this was going to be the first time my wife and I would be in each other's presence since I filed. I sent the same text to her mother and didn't hear anything from either of them. Things were a little tense and awkward on Jane's birthday, but I thought it was going well, until my wife decided to be passive-aggressive and spoke about how good it is to have a family together during important events. Everyone saw through her crap, and my son, Jack, called her out on it and said that she was selfish to bring this up on Jane's birthday. Christy started defending her mother, and Jane, understandably upset, revealed that the only reason Christy was on their mother's side for reconciliation was because she didn't want the fact that she not only knew about the affair but helped her mother cover it up. There was a big fight that wouldn't get resolved right then and there. I ended up leaving and was even more heartbroken all over again. Not only did my wife betray me, but my daughter too. I knew she was closer to her mother than me, and I was okay with that. But this? I don't know what I did to make my eldest daughter so disloyal to me, but I am now resolved to go full NC with her until after the divorce and possibly for the rest of my life.